Modern production guitars have gotten so good over the past couple of years. I remember in like 2020, 2021, I made a video saying, "Dear guitar companies, please listen." And it was basically a video kind of explaining my frustrations with production guitars and all the little things that guitar companies seem to skip, and how if they just paid a little bit more attention, they'd probably sell way more guitars and they'd all look a little bit nicer. And I'm pleased to report that's actually happened in the past couple of years. It seems that these major guitar brands, you know, whether it be Ibanez or Jackson or Schecter or LTD or anything like that, they've really stepped up their game in import production guitars, you know, guitars that are made in Indonesia and South Korea and China and stuff like that. It seems like across the board, especially for the price, you're getting better features and better looking guitars most of the time. However, that does not mean that every single guitar is safe, and I feel like we're at the very, very last little bit of making the guitars look as best as they can for their price range. So in this video, I've got 3 separate guitars, one from Ibanez, one from LTD, and one from Jackson. And yes, I do play Jackson, but they're not going to get annoyed at me saying this because it is just my opinion. It is very subjective, but these are some things that I genuinely think would increase not only the sales of these guitars, but they would just make them appeal to a wider audience, as they would look much more neat. So let's start with this Ibanez 7-string. Now, this is something that I would typically get off the shelf if I was trying it in a guitar store, especially if I was looking for, you know, a production line guitar, something a little bit cheaper. And being a 7-string, this is something I would typically play. I've pulled this up in Photoshop, and keep in mind, I'm not like a master graphic designer or anything. I don't really know how to work Photoshop to its full capability, but I do know how to use it enough to where, you know, if I want to make simple changes to this guitar like I'm about to show you, I can make it work. So the things that I love about this guitar, I love the fact that, you know, it's a super uniform color design. The headstock matches the body, the neck complements that color as well. You've got this nice little binding around here on the edge, like this white triple layer binding. It looks really good. Everything is very synchronized. You have, you know, black tuning heads, black bridge, black knobs. The switch cover on the pickup selector is black. The pickup covers, not the covers, but, you know, the actual rings of the pickup, they're black as well. But there definitely are some things that I would personally change that I think would not only make the guitar look way better, but also appeal to a much wider audience. So one thing that's always been annoying to me is the fact that, you know, 7 strings, whether it's like something that's super expensive or whether it's something that's, you know, a little bit more entry, I just don't see the need for 7 strings to have dot inlays, especially like this in the middle of the guitar. I think it makes the guitar look really budget, and it really kind of caters to that super beginner audience, which again, just my opinion personally, I don't think you should be buying a 7-string guitar if you're not at least well versed on a 6. I'm going to get a lot of comments for saying that. I have gotten that in the past, that that's the wrong thing. I don't care. That is my opinion. I don't see how you can navigate a 7-string guitar as your first instrument if you just don't have the fine motor skills to play a 6-string or a normal guitar. Because let's be honest, I love 7 strings. They're not normal. This is not a wider market. This is a very niche market. So that being aside, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take away the inlays. Notice how when I take away the inlays, it just seems much more slimline. This is starting to look like Jake Bowen's signature a little bit, because I don't think his guitar has inlays. I think it might have just like a 12th fret inlay, and he's with Ibanez as well. So it looks very reminiscent of that. But in my opinion, I just think it looks way cleaner. Alternatively, rather than having the dot inlays right in the middle, you could also opt for, like, you know, just along the top of the guitar here, or, you know, half top, half bottom, something that's a little bit more interesting and unique than just having these Fender style dot inlays in the middle of the guitar. For this guitar anyway, I don't mind this inlay style, you know, on like a typical Strat or a Tele or something like that, where, you know, it's, you know, part of the heritage, it's part of what it looks like and what it's looked like for, you know, decades at this point. But something like this, where it's like obviously catered towards more modern metal, modern style of playing, super sleek, you know, more gent, deathcore, blah, 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 blah. I don't see the reason as to why you need dot inlays right in the middle of the fretboard like that. All guitars have side dots. You don't need to look over the fretboard to kind of see what fret you're on. And if you do, then I don't know, there's side dots for a reason. So now that the inlays are gone, we can go through the headstock. So again, black tuning heads look great. The fact that the black truss rod cover is black as well to match the body color is super nice. All the nails are black. Very nice. You've got this white binding on the headstock, which also matches the decal on the brand name, which is great. As we scroll down, everything looks fine. Black nut, again, matching, matching, matching. Once we get to the pickups though, now this is super, super picky. But again, the reason why I mention it is because it shouldn't be an expensive fix. It should just be the same. It's not really making a major component change. You're not drilling out wood. You're not doing anything like that. It's literally just changing the color of the underside of the pickup. Notice how the sides of the pickup here are bronze. I just feel like if they were black, it would match the guitar that much more, and it would really give it that sleek, low profile look that this guitar is clearly trying to do. I mean, it's matte black, you know, you've got the kind of satin finish. It's meant to be fast, it's meant to be sleek. So why stop at the pickup, the underside of the pickups rather? Why not make them black? Why not make it look like the rest of the guitar? So if I zoom out, you can start to see it now. They kind of stick out. It's super noticeable. If I start to make them black, all of a sudden that completely changes the look of the guitar. It makes it seem much more uniform within itself. It makes the guitar seem much more well thought out, and just a simple little change like that can really make all the difference. Those two things shouldn't really cost that much more to do. If anything, it should cost less because you're not putting inlays in the fretboard for a start. And secondly, you know, what's the difference between the cost of a normal pickup bass plate and a black one? I don't think it would be that much more, even if it was like $1 or $2 more. In my personal opinion, just these two little changes really make this guitar stand out in its price point and really gives off a premium look. As opposed to something like this where, you know, especially the inlays, I know I keep harping about the inlays, but this really makes it seem like a budget guitar. And if you're spending $1,000+ on a guitar and you can play guitar and you don't need these inlays, you know, I feel like it would just leave a sour taste in my mouth. If I didn't have the inlays and I made it seem a little bit more uniform with the black pickup covers, that is a sick looking guitar, and it's practically no different from the one they already put out, just a couple small changes. The next guitar is this super sick LTD baritone. Now this guitar is awesome. I mean, look at it. It's blacked out. It's got a monochrome thing going on, one bridge pickup Fishman in it. Like, it's meant to be a modern metal baritone beast, clearly, right? 24 frets. It looks sick. I love the reverse headstock. I love, like, you know, the double cut design. I'm a sucker for double cut guitars. This guitar looks awesome. Hip shot bridge. It's got everything, right? I wonder if you can spot what I'm seeing and what I think would completely change the look of this guitar and make it seem much more uniform within itself. One thing that I do think would look really good on this guitar is if we got these nail pieces here. So you can see the nails that kind of screw the pick guard in, they stick out like a sore thumb. Even here with the pickup, that way, you know, they're not wood mounted because it's through the pick guard. But having these two on the side, I don't know, it leaves a sour taste in my mouth a little bit. I don't think it looks that great. On the other side of the spectrum, you might think it looks really cool because it matches the bridge and it matches the pickup and it matches the volume pot. But just hear me out for a second. What if we made those nails black instead of chrome? All of a sudden, this guitar looks even more sleek. The pick guard is not 100% like blacked out. It's like this brush kind of chrome thing. It is dark, but if you got the nails to kind of be the same shade as that pick guard, I just think it would look super nice, especially on a guitar like this where clearly it's meant to be more monochrome. It's meant to be really sleek, you know, no fuss, just one pickup, 24 fret baritone. Something like this really, I feel like, makes the guitar shine in its own right rather than stick out like a sore thumb with these nails over here. And again, this is like a super subjective thing, but it's also super cheap. And I don't know, I could be wrong, but this is something that I think would look really good on the guitar. And I know I already mentioned this on the last guitar. I'm going to mention it again because I am a sucker for no inlays. However, again, the problem that I have with these inlays is not that there's inlays on the fretboard at all. That's not my concern. My concern is that it's just this boring standard, you know, straight down the middle, double dot design, no shapes, no patterns, no different colors, nothing. It's just what you'd see on a standard Fender, whether it be like a Strat or a Tele, which is fine for those, but I feel like if you're going to be using this on a extended range 6-string baritone with one Fishman pickup, and it's clearly meant to be a modern metal machine, it just looks a little bit out of place. So let's just pretend that this has no inlays. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a guitar that is a blacked out fretboard, blacked out pick guard with these chrome features that stand out way more in the tuners, in the pickup, in the hip shot bridge and the knob. And in my opinion, this looks super nice. I would see this in the guitar shop and be like, whoa, that guitar's sick. These little things here, you could probably do it yourself. You could probably just change these nails yourself. But the things like the inlays, like I just wish they were more inspired. I always see this happen on sick looking guitars. So going from this to that, I just think makes all the difference in the world. Lastly, we have this gorgeous Jackson guitar. Now, I love Jackson guitars. I have about 7 of them behind me. I am endorsed by Jackson guitars. I really love what they've been doing in the past couple of years. They've really come into their own. And in my opinion, you may say I'm biased, but you know, at the end of the day, I wouldn't be playing it if I didn't think it was true. They genuinely do put out the best modern guitars on the market as of right now. However, that does not stop me from being really picky and annoying. So I love this guitar. I love the orange. It's super bright. I love the fact that, you know, the black contrasts it really well. And I love that the fretboard is also dark to kind of match that. It's a super loud guitar. It's very functional. It's a multi-scale with a 7-string. If you're tuning low, this is perfect. However, I am a stickler for symmetry on a guitar. I think symmetry is super, super important, and it's what makes the guitar feel super slick and look super streamlined. So the first thing that I would do on this guitar is I would either change the angle or get a different pickup altogether to where I could have shorter pickups to resemble something like this. Now you can see here, it might look a bit weird when I A/B between them, but one of my biggest pet peeves is when a pickup, this is especially prone on multi-scale instruments because of the nature of how you need to tilt the pickup. Obviously this hip shot bridge, this multi-scale hip shot bridge is super streamlined. It's not any wider than it needs to be. It's not like an Ibanez Gibraltar bridge where it has those fat little bits that stick out. This is the reason why I love the hip shots. They look so nice. But problem is, for me anyway, that these pickups kind of overextend the edge of the bridge on either side, and it kind of sticks out a little bit. I'm not really a massive fan of it. It goes past the fretboard as well. I think because these are technically 8-string pickups in there because they need to compensate for the angle. But if there was some way, this is a much more expensive fix. This isn't a fix like putting in nails or something, so I can understand why it needs to be this way. And at the end of the day, it wouldn't stop me from playing this guitar. But if I had it my way and I was being super picky, I would get pickups that would resemble something like this, so that the width doesn't go any further than the edge of the bridge here, and doesn't go any further, or not that much further, than the edge of the fretboard there. And I don't know, in my opinion, I just think that looks a little bit cleaner, much more symmetrical with the rest of the guitar. It's much more shapely. You kind of got like the rule of thirds thing going on. I just think it looks really nice like that. Honestly, I'd be happy to leave it there, but again, if I'm being really, really, really picky, I don't know if you can do this. This is also like a subjective thing as well, because I can see the appeal for both sides, but for something like the hip shot bridge here, if we were to make all of these separate silver pieces or chrome pieces black rather than chrome, so for example, like the little intonation screws, the springs, and the little saddle screws here right on top of the strings, if we were to make those black, again, that's a subjective thing. I think it looks great both ways. Honestly, I kind of do like the way it looks when it's chrome. But having it black, it makes it match the pickups, it makes it match the knobs as well, and the pickup selector. It's something that's super, super small, but you know, if I A/B it on and off, you can see where the appeal comes from, right? It's like, it's much more streamlined with the rest of the guitar. These pickup covers are completely blacked out. You know, why shouldn't the bridge be, along with all of its, you know, metal parts and everything, alongside the strap buttons and the knobs and the pickup selector. These inlays I have no problem with at all. I really like the look of these inlays because again, it's something different. It's something a little bit more unique in the fact that it's not straight down the middle of the guitar. I would hate it if the inlays were down the middle of this guitar, because if you're buying a multi-scale 7-string and you have inlays like that in the middle of the guitar, like why? It makes no sense from a consumer point of view, because you shouldn't be playing that guitar in the first place if you need those inlays. And it makes no sense from a design view, because it's not a Fender, it's not something traditional, it's a modern Jackson 7-string multi-scale. So I love the fact that they've kind of opted for the top of the fretboard here. This is something that I have no problems with, and I think it looks great. For me, if I had it my way, 100% subjective, I would get no inlays, because that's just what I like. That's not a knock on anything on this guitar at all. I do love the way these inlays look, but I would, if I could have all my guitars without inlays, I would. So I just want to see what it looks like. And now all of a sudden we've gone from a guitar that looks like that, from a guitar that looks like this. And again, it's not a massive difference, but just these small subtle differences. Again, some of them are a little bit more strenuous than others, especially this pickup thing. This was like a specific use case for this guitar in particular, because it is a multi-scale. But if I had it 100% to my spec, this is what I want the guitar to look like. And if I ever built a custom guitar, you can bet your sweet little ass that I would be 100% as picky as I'm being right now, because if I'm spending that much money on a guitar on a custom, I'd want every single spec to be exactly to my standard. But again, super, super small and super, super picky, but you can see how these small little changes can really change the look of a guitar and really change how it would look on the shelf. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Would you change anything on any of your guitars? Is there something that always pops up on production guitars that you wish you could change? Definitely let me know in the comments below. Massive thank you to everyone watching, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.